Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source of Black news, Black views, and Black opinions. Today is April 6th. I'm Mimi Brown.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo, and on today's report, student loan repayments will be extended through the end of August. The sixth time payments have been put on pause since the beginning of the pandemic, a move that will affect more than 41 million borrowers. And meanwhile, President Biden says he will hold Russian leader Vladimir Putin accountable for the death of 400 civilians in the city, as new sanctions are expected to be announced today against Russia. Then, a video of a brutal arrest of a 70-year-old mentally ill Black woman has been released by Tulsa police, showing the police officers laughing and taunting the woman as they force their way in to assault her.
Plus, Tory Lanez is out of jail today. This after he was arrested during a court hearing yesterday for violating a protective order in the Megan Thee Stallion felony assault case. And rapper T.I. has some choice words for a comedian who mentioned his abuse allegation case. We'll let you know what he said later in the show. We are halfway through the week. We have all that and so much more. So it is our voice and our truth. So let's get it.
Well, big news today for people with student loan debt. The Biden administration is extending the freeze on student loan payments through the end of August. Payments were supposed to resume in about 3 weeks, but the freeze also prevents borrowers from being charged interest. The Education Department says the freeze saves 41 million borrowers about $5 million a month. The move marks the sixth time payments has been put on pause since the beginning of the pandemic. The move comes as inflation and gas prices cause concern across the nation. President Biden campaigned on forgiving $10,000 of student loan debt. Some Democrats have called for all of student loan debt to be canceled. 46 million people owe more than $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. That's more than what Americans owe on credit cards or even car loans. You know, I'm glad that he paused it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm with Bernie Sanders, who said, cancel student debt, cancel all of it. You know, education should be free. The fact that, and I'll go back to this again, that we can send $500 billion to Ukraine, you know, but here at home, you know, we have to continue to face, you know, insurmountable debt, student loan debt. There's got to be something that we can figure out. You know, there's been all kinds of reports of what this would do for the racial wealth gap. So.
Oh, it definitely do a lot. And if you think about that, all these universities and colleges have survived without the student loan being paid at this point.
Absolutely.
So I think they can continue to do that because we look at some of the numbers, over 40% of Black people still owe on student loans compared to only 20% of whites. So that's double. So imagine what that could do for black wealth if we can go ahead and get those debts out of the way. And then when you think about when they have those jobs, right? Some of their jobs don't even add up to where they can afford to pay off that loan and still maintain daily lives.
Absolutely. You guys know I'm very passionate when we start talking about student loan debt, as I'm one of those people that suffer from just like those insurmountable costs like you mentioned. And I understand that there's a war going on right now and Joe Biden has a lot on his plate, but who is giving him this information that this was a good idea to do before the November midterm elections? Not a good idea at all. We need the Democrats to feel like we're on top of things. The worst thing that we could do is go into the midterm elections and those who are Democrats, who identify as Democrats, saying, oh, okay, well, I still have to pay back these loans. Joe Biden's not doing his job, so I'm not going to vote, number one, or I'm not going to vote Democratic. Also, I do want to say if there was a rainbow at the end of this tunnel here, Biden did do something amazing. I want to read it. So the administration will allow for all borrowers with paused loans to receive a fresh start on repayment by eliminating the impact of delinquency and default. So pretty much when you re-enter, when you start paying back in August, you pretty much can enter brand new with the clean slate. So if there was anything that was good about this, that is good.
No, that's really good. And to your point, Demi, a lot of senators were pushing to make this permanent or push it at least to the end of the year because of those midterm elections, right? How do you go campaign in front of people and then they're asking you, what about my student loan debt? So we'll see what happens. I have a feeling that it could be pushed back even a little further.
With inflation and gas prices and all that, it should be put back to the end of the year automatically.
At least.
Or just to the end of time.
I like that.
Meanwhile, the NAACP CCP is calling on President Biden to cancel all student loan debt. The Civil Rights Group's National Director for Youth and College says President Biden's pledge to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt, it simply is not enough. Wisdom Cole says student debt has become a racial and economic justice issue for African Americans. Now, Cole adds that $50,000 should be the bare minimum of student loan debt that is canceled. That statement comes as President Biden extended the pause on student loan repayments until August.
President Biden is expected to announce new sanctions against Russia today. This after news of a mass killing in the Ukraine suburbs of Bucha. Now, the president once called Russian President Vladimir Putin a war criminal. Biden says he will hold the Russian leader accountable for the death of 400 civilians in the city.
There are a range of mechanisms as it relates to accountability, and that relates to the president's strong statements about his view and belief that Russia and President Putin are guilty of war crimes and obviously the atrocities that have taken place.
The Kremlin is dismissing all the allegations of war crimes. Biden, along with other world leaders, have condemned Russia's attacks on non-military targets. We've seen it over and over again. We're, 6 to 7 weeks right now into this war. And, even in war, there's some things that are kind of like you should not do. But yet, when you have reporters out there being shot and killed, you have women, you have children. And the flip side of this, I was reading a story the other day that some of the people that live in Ukraine want to come back because they feel safer. They want to be with their family, even knowing how long this war could possibly go on. But the president, he got it right when he calls him a victim of war crimes because he did commit that and he's still committing that.
Right. What happened in the city of Bucha was definitely a war crime. As you mentioned, there was about 400 people. The men were tied with their hands behind their back. They were shot at close range. The children were killed. The women were raped. There were mass graves of, just tons of people. And the Russian soldiers, they came in, they just decimated the place. Yeah. It was so sad that this could even go on. And so now Biden he's applied sanctions, financial sanctions to Russia, to more, including what he did, which I thought was interesting. He sanctioned Putin's daughters, his 2 adult daughters, because he believes that he's hiding money, he's hiding wealth somewhere. And so by sanctioning his daughters, he's trying to find where the money is. And UK, they just announced their own sanctions, followed by the European Union. So hopefully, this will have an effect, but I think it's going to affect the Russian people more than it's actually going to affect Putin. So.
Mimi, I'm so glad that you talked about the sanctions on his daughters, his wife. But what I thought was even next level, first off, Joe Biden is like, this is the most severe sanctions that we've seen that you can ever do, especially messing with money and family. That's like Joe Biden is saying like, okay, I'm taking this serious. But he also took measures and he's blocking sanctions on the 2 largest Russian banks as well. So what he's doing is freezing any assets that touch the U.S. financial system, prohibiting Americans from doing business with them. So first we saw it in gas, and then we saw, Netflix and TikTok. But now Americans can't even do business on the banking side and the daughters, the wife. I love what Joe Biden, he's not doing what he needs to do on student loans. I will say that. But there is one thing that he's putting his time and energy into. It is this war with Russia and Ukraine. And so I'm happy to see this. I'm happy to see him bulk up a little bit because I think this is what the American people, this is what we want to see when we see a president. We don't want to see someone on Trump out there doing political stunts. We want to see someone saying, hey, I care about the American people and I'm going to protect you.
I think if there's one thing he is proving right now is that, look, I'm going to stand up for my country and I'm going to stand up for what's right. And it's important that he does that. Even going into midterms, there's a lot of things on his desk he still needs to get signed. We understand that, but I really feel like the way he's handling this situation is giving him a nice W right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, the Armed Services Committee budget hearing turned into a sparring match yesterday on Capitol Hill. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin got into a tough, heated exchange with Republican Matt Gaetz. Gaetz accused the Pentagon of failures to and misplaced focus on wokeism. Gaetz asked Austin why taxpayers should fund lectures about socialism and at the National Defense University. Austin said learning strategies and other political doctrines are relevant subjects that should be taught at the university. The 2 men spoke over each other, arguing about how far the United States was behind Russia when it came to building hypersonic weapons. Gaetz is known to argue about social issues during hearings that have nothing to do with the issue at hand.
Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader, pleaded not guilty yesterday to conspiracy and other felony charges related to the January 6th attacks. Tarrio was arrested and charged last month with conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Department of Justice prosecutors say Tarrio led members of the far-right group to Capitol Hill on January 6th to stop the official certification of ballots. Tarrio was in Baltimore at the time of the insurrection, communicating with his group by phone. Pre-trial hearings for the case are scheduled for June.
Former President Trump is either telling his social media venture executives, "You're fired," or they're saying, "I quit." Reports say 3 top executives with the Truth Social app have left the company, which has struggled to gain traction with users. So far, there has been little traffic on the site, which is plagued by technical issues. The former president predicted conservative social media platforms would rival Facebook and Twitter. Truth Social has seen a 93% drop-off in signups since the app launched. Right now, the app only works on iPhones.
And while his social media app struggles, Trump is working hard to get rid of 12 incumbent Republicans in the House and Senate. NBC News says the former president is targeting Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, as well as Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Trump is backing their primary challengers and holding rallies around the country for the candidates he supports. But a growing number of Republicans, they're pushing back, and they're supporting candidates Trump is working to defeat. Political analysts say the people Trump supports are not always in line with what Republicans think a good candidate represents.
When Stacey Abrams ran for governor 4 years ago, she was struggling financially, and now our good sis is a millionaire. The Democratic candidate for Georgia governor is now worth $3 million. Now, back in 2018, she was worth $109,000, and Republicans made an issue about her net worth during that campaign, and they were saying that her large tax bill at the time put in question her ability to deal with large state budgets. But Abrams has earned $6 million since her last race. Most of her money comes from book sales and speeches.
Georgia's election is also underway in the penalty phase of the Parkland school shooter. Nicholas Cruz pleaded guilty to murdering 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. At least 1,500 potential jurors will be screened over the next few weeks. The full sentencing trial could last 4 to 6 months.
And Tennessee lawmakers will vote this week on a bill that would make common law marriages in the state for one man and one woman. But the bill could eliminate the limit legalizing people of all ages to get married. Gay rights activists are worried the bill will undermine the Supreme Court's ruling, which legalized same-sex marriage. Right now, people can get married as young as 17 in the state of Tennessee with parental consent. Nearly 3,000 people under the age of 18 were married in the U.S. between 2000 and 2018.
A strict anti-abortion bill is now on the desk of Oklahoma's governor. Lawmakers today gave final approval to legislation that makes it a felony to perform an abortion. Doctors would face up to 10 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. Since Texas banned most abortions last year, the only Planned Parenthood clinic in Oklahoma says that it's seen a 800% increase in the number of women from Texas who are seeking care. The governor of Oklahoma is expected to sign the bill, and last week, the governor of Arizona signed a 15-week abortion ban with no exceptions for rape or incest.
Police body cam footage of a Florida police officer shows him pushing a black hotel employee who called 911 after he was attacked by a drunk white customer. The incident happened back in January at a Fort Lauderdale Best Western Plus hotel. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is representing Raymond Rashaw. Now, Crump says Rashaw canceled the white guest's hotel stay after he called him racial slurs. Hotel surveillance video captured the man attacking the hotel clerk, who was able to subdue him. When the cops came back after arresting the guest, the body cam shows him pushing Rashaw. They arrested him and charged him with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. The charges were eventually dropped. Department officials say they are investigating the incident.
And police in Houston are trying to figure out who has been spreading racist flyers in several neighborhoods. Surveillance video shows someone in a pickup truck throwing out packages late at night. The local Anti-Defamation League says there has been an increase in white supremacist behavior in the area. For the last 3 months, Houston has seen neighborhoods littered with racist flyers.
A brutal arrest of a 70-year-old mentally ill black woman has been released by Tulsa police. The 6-minute video shows officers outside of a Walmart restroom. LaDonna Paris is having a mental health crisis in the bathroom. You can see some of the video right there. And she would not leave the bathroom. Store employees called cops to remove her from Walmart. And when the officers get there, officers Ronnie Corosia says on camera, "This is going to be fun." Cops eventually force their way in and assault her.
Ready? Yep.
Rufus, I need you, Rufus. I need you. Paris was arrested and spent a month in jail. Charges against Paris were dropped because of her mental health illness. You know, we do this show every single day.
Yeah.
And there are some topics that are really tough to talk about, really hard to watch. That is a video, that is someone's grandmother, someone's loved one, and I am having a really hard time placing my feelings. Like, I don't want to cry right now, but I mean, that is just so awful for a police officer to be in a position where you're powerful, you're here to protect, you're here to save, and we call on you. Of course, the Walmart employees call on the police to help, and the way that they treated this black woman is just so awful, so disrespectful, and it really makes you really have a hard time putting trust in humanity, because these are humans at the end of the day. Forget being a police officer.
You can see that she is clearly an older woman, right? She is a great grandmother, to your point. And you're right, Demi, this video is so hard to watch. This was my first time seeing it, and them kicking down the door. They said that she had a gash on her head and she was crying. She thought that they were going to shoot and kill her. You know, I just can't even imagine. And then the woman cop, she was laughing. She thought it was funny. She said things like, "I love my job." She said things like, oh, and when she finally was taken away, she said something like, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." Like, how dare you? This is someone's mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, wife. What? It doesn't even matter. She's a human being. Yeah. This was outrageous, like literally. And she got no disciplinary action. In fact, the Tulsa police said, you know, although this happened, it was just unprofessional.
That's all they can say about that? I mean, thank God it didn't get worse than what it was, right? 7-year-old black woman knowing there's police at the door demanding to get in. They're not knowing there's a mental issue. Now, we understand during the pandemic, I feel like mental health has really come to the forefront. You have athletes talking about it. You have people just sitting at home realizing, like, yo, like, I need help. This woman needs help. And this is why we always argue and we fight about certain police officers. No, all of them are not bad. But when you have this situation happen and they're on payroll and there's no disciplinary action taken towards this cop, what does it say for her the next time she has the same situation or she encounters this? What does it say?
Well, you know, Romeo, when you say that, thank God it didn't get worse, what would be worse? The only thing worse is death,
taser,
of course.
shoot her.
Well, they offered to taser.
This seems like the worst to me. This would be the worst to me as a black woman. I'm sure she thought that her life was getting very much close. This seems like the worst to me. You're already having a mental health. You're already struggling with mental health.
But we know it could have been worse than that. That's the point I'm making.
But you know what? There have been. I don't know if the officers knew. I read reports that they did know that she was having a manic behavior problem, and then some say that they didn't know. But no matter what, she's a human being, right? And this is why we need to reallocate funding and send someone else besides the police to things like that. I mean, there should have been someone else who came and, hey, can we talk to you? What's going on? Can we help you? Sending a third police officer to kick open the door is never the answer.
You know, Mimi, you know, just really quick, I know we talk about refunding the police, defunding the police. You have so many people get upset about defunding the police, refunding the police, reforming the police, no police. And you kind of can understand why when you see a video like this. You kind of understand,
you do.
Why would I need a police officer to come and treat me this way?
Right. That is so true. All right, Ohio Appeals Court is upholding a $25 million judgment against Oberlin College. Owners of a local bakery sued the college, accusing it of defaming the company. In 2016, the son of Gibson Bakery and Food Mart stopped at a black student, accusing him of stealing a bottle of wine. Police said physical confrontation between the store employee and the accused shoplifter's friends ensued. The accused shoplifters and his 2 friends, they were arrested. All 3 students pled guilty to misdemeanor charges. After the arrest, Oberlin students protested outside the bakery. A university dean of students passed out flyers calling the bakery racist. A jury found the school guilty during the libel trial, but judges on the 9th District Court of Appeals upheld the jury's decision last week.